Traveling to Lulugus, Al goes through a forest. He wonders why Philia continues to insist that she follows him everywhere. He gets excited with the thought of buying the special fertilizer. His excitement would soon die out as he encounters a sus-looking male orc. He runs away from the orc, but it jumps on him from behind and starts doing questionable stuff. MC is trapped and shouts how much he hates orcs. Suddenly, several slashes of blades kill off the orc and freeze Al. Al sees that he was saved by a pretty blue-haired girl. He thanks her for saving him. She gives him water as he tells her how he hates orcs. She tells him that it is dangerous to come to the forest without an armed escort. Al explains that he is an adventurer, but he seems to have a weakness when dealing with orcs. She introduces herself as Ruri and asks where he is headed, and when she learns that they are both headed to Lurudis, she suggests they travel together. Al points out that traveling alone with a guy might be awkward as they have to spend one night together. Ruri says it will be fine, as if he does make any move on her, his head would fly off. This scares Al, but Ruri tells him she is joking. She says she trusts him, and she is also not that cute. MC, however, points out that she is more than cute. She blushes at the compliment and thanks him. They set off before any other orcs come running by. As dusk approaches, they hear a sound and both ready themselves for an attack. They stand with their back to back as the sounds of running becomes louder. Al points to a person landing towards them. Rory wants to attack, but Al stops her. It was Rix, the postman, delivering another letter to Al. MC asks how Rix found him, but he still answers that it was his job. The letter was from his mom again. Once Rix gives it to MC, he takes his leave. Al thanks him for his efforts. Ruri asks if Al is really thankful. Al says he is not and shows her the pile of letters in his coat pocket. He says that's one of the reasons he has to go to Lulubis to drop by and visit his parents. He also tells Riru of his plans to buy a special fertilizer for his tomato plants. He starts getting excited as he explains farming tomato and its nutritional content of it. Ruri gets a headache as Al starts talking too fast. Al apologizes for this and asks about her family. She tells him not to worry as no one seems to worry about her. She reaches into her bag and starts unpacking. Her bag turns out to be a magical heirloom that has a high storage capacity. She takes out their tent, pillows, and sleeping mats. She starts to explain who her ancestors were, but Al's grumbling stomach interrupts her. They have Ruri's signature dish, which Al likes. He goes on about the ingredients and how they were cultivated and harvested. Ruri interrupts him and he wakes from his state. He apologizes and explains he cannot stop himself. He asks Rudy why she is going to Lurudis. She explains that she was training when a merchant told her about the rumors of monsters around Lurudis. She is investigating this. It turns out that there have been many victims, but no one remembers anything about the attack or the type of monster who attacked. Since guilds could not act on rumors, she thought to investigate the matter. Al remarks that it was dangerous as she traveled so far. She reluctantly reveals that she is a descendant of the hero. Al is surprised that he almost drops his bowl. He asks if it is the same hero that defeated the Demon King Macbeth. She nods. She plans to do something with the powers she inherited from her ancestors, and it was her duty. Al asks if she is okay with the arrangement. He tells her that she is still a girl and something might happen to her. This stuns Ruri. MC tries waving his hands in front of the frozen Ruri. She apologizes for spacing out as it was the first time someone worried about her. Al apologizes for this, but she explains that she was just surprised. She is thankful that he is thinking about her. She tells him it's time to rest. Ruri asks if he intends to sleep on the bare ground. Ruri explains that if he sleeps outside on the bare ground, he'll have a stiff neck and it's going to hit his body when he gets older. She invites him to sleep inside the tent. MC tells her that it may look bad for her to share her tent with him. Ruri turns her back and tells him it's his choice, but orcs may still be in the area. Al's fear gets the best of him, and he sleeps inside the tent. He is surprised to see two sets of bedding. Ruri explains that it has been her dream to travel with someone whom she can talk with as they go to sleep. Al keeps her company until she falls. He bids her good night and goes to sleep also. However, Ruri twists and turns in her sleep, hitting him everywhere. The next day they get to Lurudis. Al appears with bandages on his head and hand as the result of last night's sleeping arrangements. Ruri asks if it is his first time going to Lirugus. He says he seldom leaves his farm and only goes to the city to sell his goods. Ruri realizes that he is also a farmer. She tells him he is just a rookie adventurer and must have an armed escort when traveling. Before going their separate ways inside the city, they agree to travel together back to Magus with Ruri as Al's armed escort. She gives her the location of her hotel and leaves. Ruri starts investigating the rumors but turns up empty. She starts doubting her efforts as she imagines being called a failure even if she is a descendant of the hero. A scream pierces the air and Ruri runs in its direction. She finds a hooded lady who tells her that her younger sister has been abducted by a demon. She points Ruri in the direction of the Forest of Illusion where the demon went with her sister. Ruri dashes off towards the forest while a man with purple hair looks on. Al looks at the map and feels he is in the right place. Before he can ring the bell, his mom comes rushing in and tackles him through the walls. Her embrace seemingly breaks Al's back as she exclaims her excitement at seeing him after so long. MC narrates that her mom can do all house chores and is kind and energetic. She is sociable and very beautiful, but she is an overly affectionate parent. She hugs him to the point that he can hardly breathe. His father sees this and demands to know who is hugging his wife. He throws a punch and hits Al, knocking him out. His mother becomes angry at this. He explains that since the guy was hitting on her, he punished him with his fists. Al calls on his father. He realizes his mistake. He tells Al that they will rejoice in their reunion if he lives through his mom's anger. At night, Al is fed by his mom while his father eats on the floor with burnt food. Al mentions that Ruri's cooking was tasty, but his mom's cooking is still the best. When asked who Ruri is and what their relationship is as she cooked Al homemade meals, Al stutters as he tries to answer his mom. His father jumps in and declares his happiness for Al having a girlfriend. He advises him to get married and have lots of children. His mother, however, lifts MC's father up in an Argentine backbreaker and proceeds to apply several different types of wrestling moves to him. Al explains amid all this that Ruri is his armed escort on his way to Lirugus. His mom apologizes for jumping to a conclusion. Al realizes that his mom shares the same personality as Princess Fall. Later, his father and Al discuss his mother and how difficult it has been since they moved away from Al. Al tells his father that he is looking for Nigari, a good fertilizer. His father directs him to get it near the outskirts of town. Al asks him to point it out on his map. His father shows it to him, but notices the mark Ruri left where she is staying. He tells him that there is no hotel in that area. Al asks him about the mysterious accidents, but his father informs him no such things are happening as demons have not been seen recently in Lirugus. His father was also telling him that if there were monsters, his mother would do something, but he stops himself and changes the topic. He tells Al to go to sleep. He does so, but sleeps on his bed as he saw her mom in his room. His dad pleads with him to not sleep in his room as he will be the one hanging the next day. The next day, Al gets his fertilizers but hears a commotion. He heads towards it and finds a crowd gathering around the purple-haired man who claimed he was attacked by demons. He tells Al that a blue-haired girl was fighting it in the Forest of Illusion and he was able to escape to town. Al rushes into the forest as the purple-haired man smiles and dissolves the crowd and the hotel with a snap of his fingers. In the forest, Al searches for Ruri. He hears a scream and finds a girl about to be devoured by a giant worm-like creature. With one punch, Al destroys the monster. He realizes that it felt like hitting nothing. The girl thanks him and hugs him. She suddenly turns into a worm-like leech and tries to attack him. Ruri arrives and saves Al. She explains to Al that the monster was disguised as a human and there has been a lot of the same kind in the forest that keeps attacking her. Al realizes she has been battling the monsters the whole time. The purple-haired man shows up and applauds their efforts. He explains that he had set up the entire thing, from the fake rumors to the fake abducted girl. He points out to Ruri, declaring that she cannot save anyone and has failed as a hero. The man introduces himself as the monster Loki Deva. Ruri asks why he had involved Al. Loki explains Al had killed the Demon King's army first commander Romeo and the dragon Ouroboros all by himself. Ruri tries attacking Loki, but he dodges her attack and countered by chopping her back. Ruri falls and Al administers his recovery magic. Loki realizes that he should have attacked Al first. Al charges at Loki, but he grabs his hand and uses his momentum to throw him to a tree. Al recovers and continues his attacks, but Loki hits him with a punch combined with strong magic. The punch leads a hole in the ground. Al jumps from the hole and hits Loki in the face. Loki uses his magic punch and hits Al again, pushing him back and breaking his backpack. Loki realizes the power of Al's punch. MC sees Loki's wound slowly healing. Al also heals himself and asks him why he is important. Loki smirks and tells him that he is eliminating anyone who might interfere with the plan. He had his eyes on Al, Ruri, and Helen as she had absorbed Ouroboros' power. Loki says he has the power of the good god, while the Demon King has the power of the evil god. Ruri cannot believe what he says, as the Demon King's defeat should have weakened the evil god. Loki laughs and taunts her, saying it's the same with her, as she has not been able to use any power from the good god. Loki lets the giant leech monster attack them. Working hand in hand, they can kill several monsters. With his power, Loki launches a barrage of fireballs. This hits them and they lay in one of the blast holes. Then those two leeches attack Ruri and push her away. The two leeches next pin Al to the ground and start sucking his blood, not realizing that his backpack had torn open. Loki turns his attention to Ruri and prepares to attack her with magic. She watches helplessly as Al struggles with the worms. She tears up as she realizes she has failed as a hero. She remembers what her parents told her, that she can be a hero if she wants to, despite what others say. She steels herself for the inevitable. Before Loki can land his attack, his leech monsters become stone-like and crumble to the ground. Al stands up and tells him that it was the Nigari, the fertilizer that had a coagulant effect that the monster leech absorbed. This made the monster unable to regenerate, but MC's wounds weaken his punches as Loki easily dodges them. Loki taunts him, but Al declares that he will defend Ruri and Helen from him. Ruri hears this and realizes that Al continues to fight despite being injured. She, on the other hand, has been so concerned about what others say that she started believing she could not be a hero. This gives her the resolve to continue to fight despite the odds. She rises and stabs Loki from behind. Loki tells her that her attacks are useless and walks away from her. She shouts at him that she will never give up, and this awakens a hidden god power in her. She uses a Saint Condemnation Sacred Eater attack on a disbelieving Loki and defeats him. Al collapses on Ruri. She lets him rest and admits that she seems to have a crush on him. In the evening, Al awakens and accidentally hits Ruri's head. Ruri blushes and tells him that she wanted to carry him and head back, but she does not know the way. Al stands and they head back. Ruri hears a sound and both are alarmed by it. They hear a voice looking for Al. This haunting voice scares Ruri, as she can face monsters but is afraid of ghost-type monsters. The sound gets closer, and it is revealed to be Al's mom looking for him. Al panics and fears his mom will kill Ruri. He carries her and starts running. While Al is worried about dying at the hands of his mother, he does not see Ruri's cheek blush. Back in town, they realize that the hotel was an illusion Loki had created. They look for lodgings for Ruri, and Al informs her that he will still need an armed escort back to Magus after he finishes purchasing the fertilizer again. Ruri agrees and they part ways. Al fears going home. His mother seems to have an uncanny ability to teleport and appear in places before he arrives. As he knocks on the door, his mom starts to run toward him. He slams the door to prevent him from getting crushed, but his mom appears behind him, surprising him. He runs inside the house, passes his father, and locks himself in his room. His father begs him to go out as he will get scolded again by his mom. The next day, his father is being hung out like laundry while his mother, Lucia, tries to stop him from leaving. He tries to intervene, but Lucia puts on a scary voice and shuts him up. Al talks to his mom and convinces her to let him leave. Lucia asks him if he intends to continue to be a farmer. She ambiguously refers to something that she wishes Al not to think about or have a sense of obligation to be a farmer. Al's memory is shown with him as a young boy starting in front of a tombstone. Al assures her mother this is not the case, as he likes farming a lot. She advises him to live a life with no regrets and they bid farewell. Al meets up with Ruri and they go toward Magus. They reflect on Lopi's words and try to discern why Al is being targeted. Ruri tells Al that he might be targeted by other monsters. Al says that Ruri will also be a target since she is a hero. He advises her to call him if something happens and he will rescue her. This makes Ruri blush. Back in Magus, Princess Fowl is called in by her father. In the pouring rain, the king asks Fowl if she is sure of her decision. The princess says she is. His father apologizes for being an incompetent father and king. Fowl tells him not to worry fighting back her emotions. The next day, Al and Ruri arrive at the guild. Helen meets Ruri and asks her what her relationship with him is. They shake hands and Al is relieved that they got along. Suddenly, Helen tells Ruri she will not give him up, and Ruri also claims the same. Back on the farm, Al catches a boy stealing eggplants, a plant similar to eggplants. Just then, Helen and Ruri arrive to help him with his harvest. Helen talks to the boy and he apologizes. Al angrily scolds him for picking the plant before they are ready. The boy apologizes once more and they hear his stomach growl. Al gives the boy cabbage, a vegetable like cabbage. He leaves happily with it. Helen explains to Al that the distribution of goods has been disrupted by the recent monster attacks while Al was gone. With this, the prices of goods went up and some poor citizens could not even afford to buy food. The town bells sound the alarm as another attack happens. The three rush toward the capital. The monsters are attacking the city and the adventurers are fending them off. They start losing hope with the swarms of monsters attacking them. The soldiers also resolve to fend them off as they are the last line of defense. Helen arrives and transforms into her semi-dragon form. She instructs them to go to the rear and guard while she takes care of the area. This earns her the admiration of the men. She uses her flame magic to kill a dragon as Al and Luke admire her from below. A giant cobra rises from the ground and attacks Luke. Ruri comes to the rescue and kills the snake. Al joins the fight using his hoe to throw several monsters back into the forest. The battle continues, but the swarm keeps getting larger. An army comes charging in and their leader commands the monsters to disperse, or he will use the sacred sword Leviathan and burn them all down. The monsters move back and retreat. Al looks suspiciously at the sword that repels monsters. That night, Princess Fall visits Al and says her goodbye. She says she is leaving and will not be coming back. Before MC can ask her question, her maid knocks on the door and Fowl leaves thanking Al for everything. Al is confused and seeks an explanation, but Fowl leaves in a carriage. The next day, Al narrates how everything has gone back to normal after the appearance of the sacred sword, but he is still bewildered by the events. His thoughts are interrupted by a woman who apologizes for her son's stealing of his vegetables. She thanks him for his kindness and tells him she is a tailor and that he can come to her if he needs anything. They buy vegetables from Al and leave. He waves goodbye to them and is surprised to see Postman Rix beside him. A letter from his mom has arrived. They talk about the sacred sword and the monster attack. Al says it was kind of Antisberg to come to their aid. Rix disagrees with this. But before Al can inquire further, he gives him the extra edition newspaper that just arrived. With this, Al learns about Princess Fall's marriage to the Prince of Antisberg. In the guild, Helen and Ruri discuss the news. Helen hopes that the marriage is not a marriage of convenience for the protection of Magus. Ruri notes that monsters are not able to understand human words and wonders why they obeyed the prince. Al barges in and shows them a letter from his mother. At first, Helen and Ruri start reading mushy stuff from Al's mom, but Al scolds them and points them to where to read. It turns out that the sacred sword has no powers, and it was made by a common blacksmith. They learn also that Lucia is the former commander of the Shadow Puppets. This shocks the girls and Al inquires what of the Shadow Puppets. They explain to him that they are an intelligence unit known to be able to retrieve any information no matter how secret it is. Helen continues reading the letter and learns that the monster attacks are being done by an unwilling demon whose sweetheart was being held hostage. They realize that Antisberg had been the one behind the attacks. They then requested the princess's hand in marriage for further protection from the monster attacks. Al declares this is the reason why he must save the Fall. The girls are dumbstruck as Al used the princess's first name casually. He recovers by stating that for citizens like him, the princess is like a true friend. They decide to rescue the princess. Helen notes that immigration is strict in Antisburg, but Al says they have a guide. Rix reveals himself and they start planning. In Antisburg, several country representatives are thanking the prince for his rescue of their cities. They ask for him to continue the protection and start offering him money, trade agreements, and tariff-free trading. After they leave, the prince laughs menacingly as he plans to increase the scale of the monster attacks. He orders Gazelle to do it, but he refuses to make monsters attack humans again. The prince slaps him and reminds him that he cannot refuse and threatens him with the safety of his girlfriend. Princess Fall enters and asks what is happening. Gazelle puts on a hood to hide his demon features. The prince apologizes but tells her that sometimes a leader must be strict with the common folk. A soldier interrupts and informs him of the delay of the carriage to be used in the ceremony. Princess Fowl looks alarmed, so he offers her a drink. He tries to cheer her up. He tells her she will get used to their country and that he is looking forward to their marriage. Outside, a knight releases a bird with a message tied to its legs. Al is at the tailor shop and gets clothes for their mission. He meets up with Rix, Helen, and Ruri. Rix has received the message from the bird and confirms their arrangements to enter Antisburg. Rix gives them instructions on how to enter the city. He plans to bring Prince Nedalus's plot to light by contracting some monsters. If they can expose the sword as fake, the wedding will be called off. Helen asks how will he gather the monsters. He reveals to them that he is a postal worker, a Shadow Puppets member, and a demon. He explains that there are a few demons who disguise themselves and blended with humans. He mentions his earliest memory is being taken care of by Lucica and is more familiar with being human. The demon who is being threatened fell in love with a human girl and has been living with humans for a long time. With the peace agreement, the demon thought he could safely and openly have a relationship with her, but he got exploited by the prince. Al assures him they will be rescued, and they start their quest. In Antisburg, the princess looks out at the night sky and talks to herself. She laments that she had tried to be resolved in her decision to agree to the marriage but longs for Al. The prince hears this and wonders who Al is. With this, we end our video. Stay tuned for the next part and watch our other quality contents.